now it's time for our panel discussion for the day. The highlight is on e-commerce. The topic today will be on synchronicity with the market giants, and it's all about the B2B marketplace. And there's no better person to have that panel moderated rather than Rami Rabia. I'm going to invite him over on stage to take it from here and basically do the introduction. Rami, I'm very excited to hear about the panel discussion and all of that. So, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ray, for an amazing introduction. Like Ray mentioned, my name is Rami Rabia, and I'm an e-commerce digital consultant based here in the UAE, helping SMEs with their digital shelf space. So that means all of their presence on the different marketplaces, the different aggregators, and such. So, as we just heard, a lot of companies during the pandemic were kind of thrown into the digital space, the digital e-commerce. A lot of them weren't ready, and there was quite a steep learning curve, I would say, during that time. Nowadays, omni-channel is not an option anymore. It's expected from all customers. It's not a luxury to have it. It's something that you absolutely need to have. Furthermore, what we've seen during the pandemic is there's been an improvement in the whole ecosystem of the e-commerce. Whether, like Rashid mentioned, whether it's the policies, whether it's the platforms, different platforms catering to different niches, whether it's logistics, and even people's expectations of e-commerce and their habits and behaviors has evolved and changed. So these are the kind of topics we want to touch upon this morning with the panel this morning. Before I bring my panelists on, I do want to ask you guys just a couple of questions just to get a feel of the audience that we have here. So who, before or at the pandemic, already had a digital channel ready, an e-commerce channel, whether it's B2B or B2C ready, and it was just a matter of putting more focus on it to shift your sales onto a digital channel? Who was already in that space? One. Anyone else? So all of you guys who kind of got hit by this whole pandemic. Okay, so good to see one person was there, and I would imagine in the past 2 years, the rest of you kind of went through a steep learning curve trying to acquire digital competencies in that. Okay, my next question is, who still feels like there's a lot more that they can do online? They just don't know where to invest, how to go, who to partner with, who to hire, where to spend money on. So I would say about 50% of you guys are in that space. Okay, so hopefully we can target some of these topics. Let me welcome my panelists. My first panelist, he comes from a creative agency that is focused on the omni-channel. That's everything from online to offline, omni-channel, everything focusing on retail. Please welcome from Liquid Retail, Richard Nicol. Under your picture, preferably. Although we'll leave that for space for me, yeah. So actually, if you could sit here. My second panelist comes from the largest B2B marketplace in the region. Please welcome from TradeLink, the CEO, Mr. Marios Sibola. My third panelist comes from, they basically have an app to help SMEs procure within the FMCG segment. Please welcome from DX by Adnan Zubairi. And my final speaker also has a B2B marketplace focused on the HoReCa segment in particular. Please welcome the General Manager of BuyGrow, Imra Keles. So good morning, gentlemen. So why don't we, I kind of gave a one-liner about you, but why don't we start with a little bit more of an introduction on exactly what you do at your respective companies. Why don't we start at the end?
Hi, happy to be here. My name is Emrah Keles. I'm the General Manager of BuyGrow. We are a digital startup under the Ghassan Aboud Group, which is one of the biggest family businesses in UAE. And we mainly focus on being a digital platform for the suppliers and the customers provided that we give the logistic services as well, an end-to-end service for retail and HoReCa segments. So any vendor with products for retail and HoReCa segment, for groceries, cafeterias, we list their products on our platform, we promote it to our customer base, and as the customers order, we do the logistics as well. And of course, we are entering additional verticals in offices and other categories where the office supply products also cater to. And happy to be here.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Adnan Zubairi. I'm the co-founder and CEO of DXY. So we started DXY in December of 2019, about 3 months before the pandemic kicked in, and with the vision to digitize how business is done, especially with the SMEs in the region. And with the advent of COVID-19, thankfully we saw that we were just in time ready to serve the markets, and things have been just upwards and north for us ever since. And we've onboarded close to 10,000 SMEs in the region so far and continue to grow.
Hi everybody, I'm Richard Nicol. I'm a shopper marketer. My career has been built on helping brands sell to shoppers on multi-brand retail environments. And for maybe 10 years ago, that was offline. For the last 10 years, online. And so I spent the last 10 years in Europe, in Asia, in China, and now here with my agency Liquid, helping mainly FMCG brands sell on these wonderful new marketplaces in e-commerce. So slightly interloping into your business-to-business world, and I hope I can shed some insights into that today.
Fantastic.
Hi, my name is Marius. I'm the CEO of Trailing. We're building what is yet to become the dominant B2B digital ecosystem in the MENA region. Our mission is to enable and unlock the potential of businesses to trade, businesses from all over the world, to trade on one single platform in a very seamless and reliable manner. We have launched since February of 2020, and today we have around 14 different categories. We cater for all types of businesses, from the very small micro business, where we give them access to global brands. We allow them to make generous margins, and we deliver super fast because we have our own fulfillment centers as well as our own logistics teams. But we also we cater for the SMEs, we cater for the multinational corporations as well as the large traders. So cater for all types of businesses, and we've built a lot of services to enable trade to happen in a seamless manner.
I believe you actually started in this particular segment of stationaries and office supplies. I believe two of you actually started in that kind of segment, and you kind of ventured off from there, yes?
Yes, I think office supplies is probably the second largest category in our ecosystem. Since we cater for all types of businesses, every business needs some sort of office supplies. So yes, it is a category that we see that there is an uprise, and there's a lot of good response. Typically, businesses would go to B2C platforms to buy their office supplies. This is not optimal, right? They don't get credit terms, they don't get wholesale prices. What we do, we allow them to buy their office supplies, at better prices with a better customer experience overall.
Right.
If I may say also, we are strictly a business-to-business platform. So every business, as Marius said, has the office supply category. Also, their pantry items, their cleaning products, and we try to be a one-stop shop for our customers. So it was inevitable to have the office supplies category.
Right. So Richard, I want to start with you because I feel like you're a little bit different than the others, and you're representing maybe the brands more or the companies more, on the merchant side more. I'm going to estimate that e-commerce penetration, at least in the B2C space, is going to hit around 11 to 12%. This is completely my for this year. The numbers obviously will come probably first, second quarter next year. I think they were at about 8%, or it was estimated to be about 8% last year. If you look at markets like the UK, they're north of 20%. So, and as we see, more and more consumers don't really care where they're buying from. Okay, they really care about what is the experience they're getting, whether they're looking for value, whether they're looking for pricing, the actual shopping experience, online or offline, that or a combination of all these. That's kind of what they're looking for. And what we saw, like for example, just recently we finished Black Friday, the Black Friday sale, and now traditionally Black Friday was a retail-only event. And the idea is that you're supposed to have Cyber Monday after that, where if you didn't get any deals online, you'd go offline and you'd get the deals online. Now it's a whole like 2-week fiasco of discounting, selling everything, and everyone puts a color spin on the Friday sales and such. What does that mean from an omni-channel point of view? What does that mean for a brand that's trying to now communicate? Should it be doing something different online and offline? Is it all just kind of jumbled into one? How do you proceed if you want to maintain an omni-channel presence?
Well, thank you for the question, and thank you for almost the answer at the beginning, which was actually consumers, all of us, we no longer care where we buy, right? We buy our groceries, we buy our fashion, we buy our sports equipment in the most convenient place. We buy wherever we can find the quality we need, the range we need, of course the value, the convenience, and these days the safety. So any retail environment and any retailer who can provide that have got a chance of our customer, whether that's online or whether it's offline. And what's particularly interesting, in the context of today, is I've been looking around the show, and I've been looking at how these exhibitors who probably some of you who are looking to sell on a B2B perspective have actually organised their booths. They've organised them like shops. They've organised them like you would find in a shop, and that's a smart thing to do because people can see their own shops and their own stores here. And what we are seeing in the world of should we say more generalist marketplaces is an attempt over the last 18 months to do exactly that. The Amazon ecosystem in terms of content provision, brand stores, rich content, is becoming really, really, really important to be able to win that purchase. In fact, Amazon has become a place, rather than just to buy, to shop. And I think they are leading globally, and I think maybe other marketplaces are looking to follow that. And it's interesting to see how much content, how much functionality, how much shoppability is going on some of the more specialist marketplaces right now. You asked a specific question about Black Friday. Well, the issue about Black Friday is double-edged sword. We're all ready to buy on these shopping festivals, right? But we're also being educated to buy at a particular price. And that's actually fantastic for us as shoppers, not so good for brands. So that's still something which is going to play out across all of our industries. What are we actually going to be doing in terms of educating our shoppers to buy at the right price? Marketplaces are fantastic for volume. I'm not sure they're so good for margins, especially if a third or even half of your sales come during shopping festivals. So quite a lot to work out for FMCG, for brands generally, brands here as well as FMCG, but that's how I would address that question.
Fantastic. Has anyone on the B2B side done anything different with Black Friday that they want to kind of comment on?
One thing I can say is, if we are catering to resellers, of course our Black Friday starts almost 3 months before the actual Black Friday. So, the supply chain takes a lot of time to make sure that the products are here on time. So we have a different calendar than the B2C calendar.
And from our end, we work alongside with the B2C platforms, right? So we've partnered with Amazon, for example. We're one of their strategic partners actually in their service provider network. We help FBA sellers, for example, to give them access to products globally. We had them consolidate those goods. We had them to register those products and certify those products. We had them with the shipping. We had them with the fulfillment. We deliver directly into the fulfillment centers of Amazon, for example, right? And then there are a lot of other insights that we get because we are partnered with these B2C platforms, is that we share those insights, right? We help sellers, FBA sellers particularly, to make more informed decisions when it comes to sourcing these products, right? Typically it would have been very difficult for them to buy these products because they would be a little bit skeptical to buy these products from other platforms or directly from the factories. We give them that security when they buy it from trading.
Fantastic. Yeah, so I want to stick with you for a second because I know you guys, you mentioned data and you guys are pretty good at that. And recently, a few months ago, you did release a white paper on exactly what B2B went through during the pandemic and such. Can you go over exactly how you made that report and what were some of the key findings there?
Yeah, of course. So since B2B is very new, I think for everybody, particularly in the region, there was no data about the adoption of B2B e-commerce in the region. So what we did, we ran a survey. We had around 500 companies between UAE and Saudi that participated in this survey. There was a lot of learning, but throughout this learning, I think the biggest confidence is we see that these companies that we interviewed see that they are adopting digital services more rapidly than we actually thought. And just to share a little bit some insights, around 78% believe that 78% of these 500 companies believe that this B2B e-commerce will play a big part of the economy within the next 5 years. Also, around 46% already purchase online. Right. So we see this only growing, but it was also significant to see that so much are buying online. And around 2/5 already use marketplaces. So for them, they have better options to be able to compare, because in B2B it's a lot more rational. They need to make online searches before they actually make a purchase, and marketplaces is what it gives them, right? Access to a lot of supply for them to be able to make a better informed decision.
I'm a little bit disappointed only 78% think that B2B e-commerce is going to be big.
I think it's only on the increase, right? When you see in the US, for example, right? Just 5 years ago, B2B e-commerce was probably, I don't know, something around 7-8%. Today, it's probably around 17-18%. And we see that kind of hockey stick effect happening even in this region.
Wow, okay. Adnan, I want to come to you because I feel like you deal a very, very traditional part of this B2B segment. I work with clients, of course, to get them online on the different marketplaces and such. And there's this feeling where, okay, Rami, what do we have to do? Okay, we get our photographies done, we pay some money for that, we get our content, oh, we have to get into the nitty-gritty, oh, people want to know nutritional labels, okay, fine. Let's include all that, get online, catalog everything, we're on, where are the sales? And it's not that fast. It's not that, that's not really how it works. It's really, that's when it starts. What are you expecting from companies or merchants that come on your platform, and what should they expect back from you, okay, to leverage this whole ecosystem the best?
I fully agree on the part where you said the vendors, they just want to have a hockey stick sale from month one as soon as they list on the marketplace. However, I think things are changing both from the vendors and the consumer side. The consumers, their expectations for the B2B are pretty similar to what you'd expect on a B2C platform. Like, they expect you to give deep discounts, promo codes, they expect quick deliveries, they're demanding in as such. And I think as a marketplace, for a brand to be on a marketplace, what they need to do beyond just listing the products, putting in descriptions and photos, is also give it some time and probably allocate a certain budget to build your brand as you would on an offline situation, right? So once that brand loyalty is built, once people get the experience of what your product is like, that's when they're going to come back, even after you stop giving them the discounts. And that's what we've witnessed, especially working with the micro and very small segment consumers. We've even had the examples of people who have never ever shopped on an e-commerce, even Amazon or Souk, etc. And we were able to onboard them and start use our app. And that's where, we've had them stick around for like almost 80% for their reorders. So that's what I want the vendors to understand. Give it some time, and eventually, once your product it lands on the consumer's place, that's where they test it and they come back to you for that.
I would like to add to what you're saying. Yes, you need to give it some time, but I think what's most important also is to own their business on the marketplace. I believe that just listing the products on the marketplace is not, no magic is going to happen on its own. It's just another channel for merchants, right? For them to be able to reach a large audience of customers. But they need to take that ownership. They need to take the ownership of the content, of the photos, of the description, of the pricing. Most importantly, I think it's very important. They need to be consistent. They cannot or should not show their products at a certain price on a marketplace and a different price on another marketplace, for example. That's not ideal. They need to be very responsive. When they get inquiries from buyers, right? They need to respond very quickly. In order for them to be able to lock a sale. And I think they need to be very, very efficient when it comes to fulfilling orders, right? It's very, very important that for them to be able to acquire good seller ratings, reviews, and ratings.
Fantastic. Anything else you want to add?
Well, I can say along the same lines, actually, basically putting in the effort. So they have traditional sales channels. They have an account manager for modern trade. They have an account manager for traditional channels. But they have an account manager for B2C e-commerce, like handling Amazon, Noon, etc. Of course, when we deal with a B2B platform like us, we need to have a point of contact that is putting in the effort, spending the time, trying different things and analyzing the results. And as the digital marketplace, of course, we have experts, category and merchandising teams to cater to this kind of requirements and support our vendors, our suppliers on this. And more importantly, they need to see it as a channel where they apply a certain pricing strategy. We are dealing with a different customer base here, so we need to cater to a different pricing strategy to get the best result that we want.
Imran, let me stay with you as well. My next question, it kind of follows up from this, but usually in the digital space, we talk about the customer journey or the sales funnel, right? Where you have at the top of the funnel, you have all the people who are hitting your website, and then obviously you go down from interest to conversions and then aftermarket sales and such. How does that look like in a B2B context? And what can companies? I feel a lot of the companies who are not they're new to digital. They don't think of the customer journey and the marketing funnel because their footfall is they're into Carrefour and they just assume Carrefour is going to have a high footfall and eventually it's going to converge. And they never see numbers, for example, how many people go down the aisle where their product is, and they never see numbers about how many times people pick up their product, read it, and then put it back, and they don't see these things. So the concept of this whole marketing funnel is a little bit beyond them when it comes to traditional. It's easy to see that in a B2C context, but how does that look like in a B2B context? What can you tell us about that?
So maybe I can start with a small nuance here, where we are a closed loop platform. Meaning we already do a filtering, a verification process for our customer base. So our vendors, our suppliers know that every single user that's coming onto our platform are a relevant, verified potential customer. So from here onwards, every single data matters, because if the customer is there to buy and we already verified him, we need to be able to analyze the data very well to make sure we convert this customer. What we do as BuyGrow here is to give all the data that's required for the vendor to analyze and improve their business. Meaning, if a customer comes, we already provide what kind of customer he is. He might be an office buying for their personal or professional use. It might be a grocery shop buying to resell the item, etc. And then we show the full journey from clicking on a product, adding into basket, maybe stopping there, or moving along the checkout and then actually buying the product. And then we inform our vendors on where this product is going, where is this customer, which emirate, which area, what kind of demographic this customer is in. So all this data, normally platforms are very keen on sharing this kind of data. I know Amazon doesn't share almost anything, but for us, we see this as a common platform, common resource to use so that we can all grow our business.
Can I jump in there?
Absolutely.
Because that's the next absolutely brilliant point about data. Look, the idea of a marketplace and a brand should be a marriage made in heaven, right? Brands need marketplaces to sell, and marketplaces without brands or without products have no use. So the idea of joint value creation through data, as has been explained, is really super smart. And yeah, we have terrible rows with Amazon about this on behalf of some of our larger FMCG brands, because those brands have got so much to give too. They know their consumer. An FMCG brand is not in business unless he understands the reason his products are being bought by the consumer. But the marketplace knows who's buying, knows the shopper behaviour. You put those two things together, you have actually applicable data which you can really, really use to grow your business. And I think it does lead you to the thought when you're talking about e-commerce in its entirety, particularly in this space. You know, you've got a very simple choice. You do it yourself. You do a direct-to-consumer operation with all the things that entails, or you go onto a marketplace, or you go onto retailer.com, I suppose, if you're looking for the bigger retailers in this particular channel. But the purpose and the reason that marketplaces become attractive is volume. It's where the fish are. You've got to fish where the fish are. Otherwise, you've got to, you know, you've got to ground bait your swim, as it were, right? You've got to get them there, and that's a really difficult thing. And often, a lot of our certainly SMEs fail in this. They don't understand the amount of time it's going to take to work on Google search, to work on other search ecosystems, to get people to actually their site. Because you mentioned conversions, Rami.
Yeah.
About 3% to 4% conversions, I think, in terms of a marketplace. The Amazon marketplace, I would imagine yours are higher because you're a specialist marketplace. But if you go into a DTC website and you're talking to specific consumers who want your product, you could be up to 30-40% conversion, which is fantastic. But converting 30-40% of 10 people a week, data can lie, right? If you're converting 3% of 300,000 a week, it's a better deal. So I suppose it comes down for me to what you want to do in e-commerce. Is it a volume play? And I would say actually it's an and. And these days, we've already said, you need to be everywhere, winning everywhere, whether that be on specialist marketplaces or more generalist marketplaces.
Marius, what data do you guys share in terms of the funnel? If we talk about that.
Yeah, I think to echo what has already been said, it's key to capture the data as upstream as possible and use this data to improve the customer experience downstream, right? So the quicker you can collect the data, understanding who the customer is, what is it that they're looking for, and try and personalize as much as possible their experience. So what we do, we capture this data, of course, but then we kind of come up with special offering depending on the type of customer, right? And we leverage the power of the latest technology that we have, be it AI or machine learning, right? To help those customers not only improve their experience, but again to make more recommended, better recommended purchases, if you like, as they shop on our platform.
Fantastic. Richard, I want to come to you again because again you're kind of representing the brands, and I'm going to ask a question the others might not like, but I'm going to put it out there, which is who owns the retail customer? Okay, and let's keep it omni-channel. So you've got brands that are into retail. Obviously, there's that intermediary being the retailer themselves. You've got brands who are on the different marketplaces. Some might have a direct-to-consumer channel through their own website. But who owns that customer, and how do you communicate with that customer, whoever owns it?
And that is a fantastic question. I mean, simple answer, who owns the customer? Whoever gets paid, I suppose, right? Simple answer, but that's a facetious answer. We find this a lot now with aggregators. The grocery aggregators, this is a really interesting thing. Imagine a lot of us are now shopping and buying our groceries via the grocery aggregators here in Dubai, I'm sure. Imagine for 1 second if you decide you're going to order some, let's just say, Fife's bananas from a supermarket on InstaShop. And those bananas come to you and they're all squashed. And you're pretty fed up about that. Who do you blame? Do you blame InstaShop? Do you blame the supermarket you bought it from? Or do you buy the brand? You're not going to have the same experience again, so what are you going to change next time? You're going to change the brand? Well, clearly it can't be the brand's fault because it's a well-known brand. Are you going to change the supermarket's fault? Maybe you blame the pigs, or it can't be the delivery guy's fault because everything else is fine, right? So it's a really tricky position, and I think you'll probably blame the supermarket, and the easy thing to do is to go with the convenience of InstaShop and just change your Almayas to your Grandiose. That's what I think will happen. So the question is, who owns the consumer? Who owns the shopper? I actually think who owns the responsibility, right, is the aggregators, but they are, they're the ones who say, I'm really sorry about that, sir, I will give you a discount. Still going to change the supermarket, right? So there's a shift, certainly, in terms of the ownership. And I think that who owns the shopper these days are the means to buy it. And I think that will be true of marketplace, less so of Amazon. Someone comes back on Amazon, you sort of use Amazon again. But when you're in a more specialist marketplace, you're probably going to find that you will take the buck will stop with you. Therefore, you have to own that responsibility, I suppose.
And I would imagine some of the drivers do get flack just because they're the ones there opening the door and they're the poorest ones in the chain. But it's who you see in some.
If you get a really bad meal, do you blame Deliveroo or do you blame the restaurant?
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe. Sorry. One thing I can add here from the B2B perspective is, of course, for our vendors, the biggest challenge that they are facing is let's say the B2B last mile delivery, especially for the unorganized trade where the drop sizes are really, really small. That's why I'm sure we have some distributors here for the office supplies categories. If an office orders 300 dirham worth of office supplies in Fujairah, would you deliver it there? Just for your products. Where the B2B marketplace comes in, especially where we provide the logistics as well, is we do it for multiple vendors. So we don't deliver 300, we deliver 3,000 dirham worth of products to that same customer. Of course, here we provide the service to the vendor, which is a value added from our part. But more importantly, we control that service. So for us, I believe, it's my personal vision, and that's what we are trying to do in BuyGrow as well, that initially, for the sake of the B2B marketplace to be established in any market, marketplaces have to take more responsibility and convince the vendors to do that last mile, which is you gave the banana example, to make sure that customers are happy and they keep coming back to the marketplace.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be coming to you guys for some questions, so have a couple of questions ready. But I want to take the discussion back to this inertia that's happening, Adnan. I want to ask you, so this whole procurement thing is still a very kind of traditional business. And, it's still, you have this procurement manager and he's got his special relationships and all that. And how do you either cut through that or kind of mimic that in the online space and make it work for the people who are discouraged because of this element? What do you tell them?
So I think I'd slightly rephrase that. Even the procurement managers, if we are able to convince them that we are able to give them a plethora of options as a marketplace, they don't have to spend time maybe negotiating with 10 or 20 vendors separately, and all of them are available right on the marketplace, and he's just placing the orders and receiving the delivery in time. That's where you own it. And beyond that, I think the best value proposition to buying online versus the traditional way is the time element and the customer experience. That's the most important part, wherein you're assured that you will be getting the deliveries in time. Like you said, if you're buying from a vendor, the consumer is in Fujairah and the vendor, he's based out of Dubai or Sharjah. So he might not be giving that assurance of giving the delivery in time. But as a marketplace, that customer in Fujairah can be assured that he will be getting that material from the same vendor in time. So I think the experience is what matters to bring back customers, as well as to convince the procurement resources to buy online.
So you're convincing the merchants with the experience and trying to facilitate that.
I think that's the absolute most valuable proposition for a marketplace to function, that if you're able to give them the experience of getting things in time, especially in a B2B space, even though sometimes you might charge them a little extra for that, they're willing to pay you for that. Whereas that might not be the case for the B2C customer, where they're looking for value rather than time. But B2B, the deliveries in time is of prime most essence for them.
Now, it's exactly the same. It's convenience, right?
Absolutely.
And one thing, and you're pushing an open door, because remember, all the procurement managers generally go home and buy their groceries from Instashop, right? They're going to go home and they're going to buy their groceries. So when they go to work, are they really going to change their mindset in terms of buying?
I would say even if he's left office and forgot to order something within the time, and he has this app wherein, after party, he's just forgot, oh, I missed this one, so he's just placing the order and still knowing that tomorrow morning things will be in stock. So that's saving his skin further.
Right?
Absolutely.
Anyone want to add?
I would like to add to this. I think I echo what you say. I think what's important is you want to empower them with the tools for them to have more control and visibility, right? Not take away that control, right? So of course, the convenience of them getting the goods when they wanted or when we promised is very, very important. But I think procurement officers, procurement managers want to have visibility, want to have control. And this is why we've launched a special business unit on our platform called Trading Pro, where businesses, large enterprises that have procurement offices come on board as a team. They see the products that they're interested in only, and they can create their own catalog. They have approval workflows within Trading Pro, and they can check out without payment because they would have pre-agreed credit terms. And for them, it's the convenience, as you were saying: one seller, one invoice, one delivery, peace of mind.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have questions for the panelists you'd like to ask. Yeah, can we maybe get a microphone, please?
That's
If I can just repeat the question for everybody's sake. So I think the question was on B2B cross-border, the logistics part, where does responsibility lie and how do you take ownership to the extent that you can on specifically for trading?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you for the question. Actually, we specialize in this. Majority of our selection comes from international supply, so we're very sensitive to this. And there are many good problems to solve for what we've been busy doing, basically. So it starts off with supply, making sure that the supply that we have giving access to is secure, is verified, is validated, right? And then we help with the product registration and certification. So, a customer who's buying a product that is outside of this country, right, with as little as $75, right, can get their goods inspected in another country. We partnered with SGS, it's a global company, right, that does this kind of service. We have resources sitting in our offices, and they help customers do this on a day-to-day basis. And then we have our own logistics. So we have a very comprehensive logistics capability, right? We've partnered with Freightos, which is the largest digital freight marketplace in the world, as well as we've got integrated logistics. So one can check out buying the product as well as buying the freight. So we consolidate those at source, we help with the registration, we bring the goods, we leverage the capability we have when it comes to logistics, and then we do all of the customs clearance and all of that, and bring the goods in the free zone, in our fulfillment center, and it could be re-exported if required, right, or as sent to the customer locally. And that could be done, with the comfort of sitting at their office. They don't necessarily need to exchange any documents or anything of those things. Everything is done online. Yeah. 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 Correct. In B2B, if it is goods are ready to ship, it's a lot easier because things have already are in that sense organized. If goods need to be manufactured, right, and produced, then we've got to set the right expectations with our customer. But we work very closely with the sellers to ensure that they are performing, because they wouldn't want to miss out on, and have a bad rating or have a bad review either, right? So their motivation is also to fulfill the order at the time that they said they will, but we will help them work along, solve any problems they may have, as well as set the right expectations for the customer and keep them informed on the progress of their order. Correct. Thank you.
And Marius, I used to work with a lot of FMCG companies, helping them with their exports, and of course, a lot of these companies, they don't want to do one-off sales. They want to appoint a distributor, right? In Saudi, in Egypt, they want like this tunnel established. Somebody's gonna invest a little bit in their brand, do some activations, and so on. How does that look like in this sort of slightly, if I can say, commoditized way of doing B2B e-commerce?
I think this is a very good question. Today, international brands are thinking digital first and omni-channel. They've come to us to list the products, to have the products first they launch into the region on trading. We act as their distributor, if you like. We have access to so many different channels for them to be able to sell their products, and not just the customers who's coming online on our platform, but we have a lot of other channels because we cater for all types of businesses. But we help them throughout the entire process, from, as I mentioned, registering the product, having it certified, and the entire process of bringing them into the MENA region and selling them through various platforms. So we've essentially enabled and unlocked the potential of international sellers and brands to sell their products in the MENA region without even setting foot in the region, right? We've had customers, by the way, create their own private label, even in office supplies, right? So they create their own products through our platform. We have them along the way with labeling, branding, and sourcing, and all the way bringing them into the region and selling them to the end customer.
So I think that's what, if you like, a more specialist-focused, customer-centric marketplace can do. I think the idea of working with specialists, particularly in distribution and e-commerce, is massively important. You know, again, from an FMCG perspective, to your point, most of the FMCG companies that we work with and you would have worked with would have basically lumped e-commerce into their current distribution deals, because we have specialists, we can do that. But the truth is, it's really difficult when you have to split pallets into individual SKUs, because you've got to get, you know, three bottles of shampoo to Fajira by 6 o'clock. Right? It's not the sort of thing that distributors generally have to do. So there's a massive opportunity for specialists, whether that be B2B marketplaces like you gentlemen, or whether it be third-party sellers on the big generalist marketplace, who actually can set up business to actually cater for some of the experience. And you use the word experience because, after all, it's all about shopper experience, like getting what you need when you want it. A big opportunity to do that. It's fantastic to hear that story because it's great, you know. And actually, you know, it will shift. We will shift as e-commerce becomes more, I suppose, common for everybody, whether it be B2B, B2C. Then experience is going to be paramount, and that actually maybe, we don't know. Maybe the big generalists are going to fade, and maybe some of the more specialist, customer-centric B2B platforms are going to rise, and maybe, you know, the very fact the things that you guys are learning and practicing now might be more appropriate to B2C than you might actually think, and that's an exciting future for you, I think.
Big predictions from Richard here.
Yeah, maybe one thing that I can add here is I think it's a must-have for the marketplaces to provide this service to international sellers, to be an alternative or an addition to the traditional distribution channels. So this provides variety for the procurement manager we just talked about. So he doesn't have to just buy from the established brands that have the traditional distribution channels here established already. But he can choose from a bigger variety of products. And any international brand that would like to enter the market have an alternative now. And I know these discussions very well because I used to work for Unilever, which is the principal, and then Transmed and different distributors in the market. And I know the discussions that these distributors have with the international brands. And I can say that there is a limitation in the brands that these distributors can carry. So any new brand has a very hard time entering the market because they do not have the logistics. For B2C, Amazon takes care of that. They do fulfilled by Amazon, they bring everything internationally, so these products can reach the consumers. But there is still a bigger chunk of the market that is the B2B, that is going traditionally. So working with a digital marketplace here actually enables these brands to access the market in an easier way while they are sitting in their country, having access to all the data, plan their promotions all the way from there with the insights and expertise of locally operating category managers, merchandisers here. So it is a win-win-win situation for everybody involved in this, and it is, I think, vital in the success of the digital marketplaces.
Absolutely, and I think your combined effort together is really helping with the whole market. We got like 2 minutes left. Any other questions from the audience? Anyone want to ask something? Yeah, go ahead. So how do the marketplaces themselves do digital marketing to businesses as opposed to consumers? Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody want to tackle
I
that?
have a quick answer for
Yeah.
this. Just, I believe, the most important one in terms of the difference in the mindset. So for a consumer, a typical pricing communication would be, buy this product for 8 dirham instead of 10 dirham. Slash the price, create that psychological effect, and consumer might be convinced. What we do in BuyGrow is, because we are catering to resellers as part of our customer base, we tell them, currently you are selling this established brand A, for example. and you are selling it for this price, making this much margin, because in the end he has to make margin from that product. So what I communicate to him, for a new brand B, I say you can sell it cheaper than the established brand A and make more margin out of this product. So this is the difference in the communication when it comes to digital marketing. And of course I'm talking about marketing within the marketplace, not to attract traffic, because in our case we do not do that. It's a closed loop application. But within the marketplace, we give that mindset to our vendors, so we create this kind of campaigns, and we see that they are more successful because all the customers that we cater to, they are businesses. They are there to make more money. We just give them ways to make more money.
I would like to add to that. Thank you, Emma. I think B2B marketing also differs from B2C in the approach. So yes, of course, price is important, messages have to be there, but I think the approach on how you acquire a customer is different. B2B e-commerce is rational, right? B2B customers, data shows that they make many online searches before they actually make a decision, right? So I think it's about having lead generation to start with. I think it's important. There's a lot of online content that needs to be there because B2B customers are making searches, right? Not like B2C where they're emotional and they act on impulse. So they want to make have that information before they actually make a decision. So and then I think because B2B customers, they don't have time to browse on a marketplace, right? They're there for a reason. So it's very, very important that the messages, whether it's emails or push notifications, or even the website, after you've captured what their preferences are, it's important that you build relevance, right? They want to see all of the things that they're interested in. Because the moment you just, throw things at them that is not of interest, what happens is that they bounce off. So it's very important, I think, to be able to have stickiness, you have to have this relevance. And you can only have relevance with the data that you capture.
We say in B2C e-commerce that, or really in retail, anything, it's always an emotional decision at the end that somebody makes when they buy something. Okay, they look at the price, they look at this. In the back of their mind, they have that Instagram thing that they saw somewhere, and they're basically going to go back to, making the decision based on that thing they saw perhaps. On the B2B, you're saying cut the fluff out. It's a little bit more direct, it's a little bit more business. Very, very interesting insights. Gentlemen, one last word, I think, from everyone. We know that this industry is still at an embryonic stage and it's growing, but it's probably the best time for companies to come in. What are some kind of last recommendations you guys can give our audience here on how to get on with this and start the journey to really be able to do the most once the kind of more established companies come in and take care of this? Go ahead.
So one thing I can say, assuming that most of the audience here are vendors, suppliers, based on the experience that I have had in the last year, starting BuyGrow and having many meetings with our vendors, give it a try. Even our vendors are traditional, our customers are traditional, but our vendors are also traditional. Give it a try. All the marketplaces, I believe, are free for you to try. We do not charge for listing, we do not charge for anything. There is only a cost for you, or let's say a margin deduction for you when you actually make a sale. So give it a try, list with us. You will have very good insights into what kind of customers we have. We are, like I said, very open to share our data with you. Give it a try, you will see the benefit of it. And as we had answered the question before, of course, you need to put in the effort as well with our guidance. And this is the future. Let's be a part of the future, basically.
Adnan?
I would just add to what Emrah has said, that if I am speaking to someone who owns a brand or who's a vendor here, with COVID around and everyone is now aware of the digitization of the businesses, and this today is the best time to get on board and extend your brand or presence in the digital world through an extension of B2B. And like Emrah said, that it's about building partnership consider the B2B marketplaces as an extension of your own distribution channel and partner with us as you would do with presumably your own distributors, and then you will see the benefit probably within the first quarter itself.
Very simple. Know your customer better than your competitor. And that whether that's your customer as a B2B customer or whether it's a B2C customer. Know them better than your competitor. Understand who they are, why they buy, more importantly why they don't buy, and then work out how you partner with whatever platform you want to partner with to overcome those barriers to purchase and get over and convey the benefit. And that's true of any sale, whether that be if you're selling paper on these marketplaces, or whether you're selling shampoos and diapers in Carport.com or Amazon.
I think marketplaces are here to stay, and we will see a lot more of them. This pandemic has only accelerated this adoption of digital services. Right? For marketplaces to be successful, they need to build a critical mass, right, of users on both ends of the marketplace, right? And this is a massive opportunity for brands and distributors, to have access to, right? And as Amra said, most of the time, this is offered to the merchants for free. And I think to your point, Richard, that you mentioned earlier that marketplaces need to be sensitive to specialize, if you like, to the needs of the different verticals and customers in different verticals. I think that is what we will see more of, right? As we see, I think it is estimated that there are 370 unicorn B2B marketplaces in the world, and we will see a lot more of those coming up. But I think for marketplaces to be successful as the adoption increases is that they need to specialize, right? You cannot be good at everything. So they need to specialize in certain verticals and build solutions around the needs of those customers within that particular vertical. And we see that happening, I think, already in certain marketplaces. They're a lot more sensitive today, even on trailing, for example. When somebody comes to buy FMCG products, the experience is very different to when they buy office supplies, right? I think it's important. We'll see a lot more of this personalization within the marketplaces happening. And that's because of the critical mass that they have, the economies of scale. Marketplaces are able to do so, whereas it would be otherwise very difficult and expensive for traders and merchants to do that on their own or with just normal marketplace websites. Thank you.
Perfect. And ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I'm going to wrap up. I want to thank my panelists, Marius Sivola from TradeLink, Richard Nicol from Liquid Retail, Adnan Zubairi from DXBuy, and Emra Kellis from Brigro for their participation. And I want to thank you guys for your participation as well. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.